Gamers, I am really excited to say that Call to Arms Gates of Hell Ostfront is finally blowing up in the way it deserves. This game came out a couple of years ago now and continuously has released banger after banger DLC, slowly growing its player base, and their hard work has certainly paid off. It feels like we are in an era of strategy games at the very least, but also just games in general where people first publish them and then they just let them dwindle. They let them die, and that's that. They don't do anything additional to help support their game, to help make it the best game possible. But that is not true with Call to Arms Gates of Hell. This World War II strategy game is hitting new peaks because every few months they release an absolute banger expansion that is just better and better every time. Now, they just hit their 24-hour peak and all-time peak of 8,751 players playing simultaneously, which is really great. That's a lot of players for a Steam game. Like, a game that doesn't have a massive corporation backing it. It's essentially an indie game. That is very impressive. And currently it has 7,894 players. So, clearly they are managing to maintain these peaks. And it seems like every couple weeks they've been, sort of getting closer and closer to these peaks. And then with the Liberation DLC being launched, they completely blew it out of the water. The Liberation DLC is the Western Front of Call to Arms Gates of Hell. Up until now, it's been pretty much all Eastern Front. They, started with Call to Arms Gates of Hell Ostfront, the base game, which was based in the Eastern Front. Then after that, they had a few light expansions. Then I would say the first really big expansion they did was Finland, which ended up bringing us into, obviously, the Finnish campaign, which is also Eastern Front. So now that they're expanding into the West, there's a ton of additional content out there. And so that has brought back old players. But on top of that, I think it's brought in a lot of new players because the Eastern Front just is not as popular as the Western Front. I always think that games tend to do the Western Front because it plays to Western audiences. That's where the majority of, people in the West are from. They fought in those fronts. The British, the Americans, the Australians, New Zealand, etc., etc. Not so much on the Eastern Front where it's, the Russians and the Chinese and things like that. Western audiences, I think, like to play in the Western Front because that is where they're from. So it kind of makes sense, if you know what I'm saying. Starting off with the Eastern Front and establishing a great base game and then slowly releasing more and more content until you make it to the Western Front actually ended up being a fantastic strategy for Call to Arms Gates of Hell because they were able to refine and polish their game engine and completely make, the best missions possible. They were able to read their player base, find out what kind of missions they like, what they like to do in the game, to release the Western Front in a really excellent way. I was lucky enough to get into the beta of this a few days before it launched, and there were some glitches that I experienced in that. A couple days into launch, I did experience a couple more glitches, but for the most part, the game is extremely polished still because it's been out for forever. And this is just a DLC expansion that adds a ton of new units and missions. It's not like they're completely recreating the game engine. So most players that are new to the game going into this are going to experience the best possible product as opposed to a brand new release in the Western Front, which might have been marred with some problems. I think it also helps that word has kind of finally gotten around that Call to Arms Gates of Hell is essentially Men of War Assault Squad 3 now. Not entirely, because the single player is more playing like Men of War the original, but the multiplayer is kind of getting to that. It's very arcadey. And Men of War 2 is currently being worked on, and I have been enjoying seeing that game, go from alpha to I think they might have launched their first beta the other month, but I wasn't able to play it. And that game's pretty interesting, and I'm excited to see that project coming out. But it's taking a very different approach to multiplayer and single player, and overall just the entire game looks completely different than any other Men of War game. So Men of War 2, while people are definitely still excited about it, it's not exactly what they're looking for. I think people are much more keen to play, you know, a true successor to Men of War Assault Squad than to play this very strange, much more casual World War II strategy game. Call to Arms Gates of Hell is, you know, while it does have a pretty big learning curve, it is approachable, but it's certainly not casual. It's got everything that you would want from a Men of War game. It's a true, you know, I don't want to say it's a true follow-up to Men of War because it does so many things better and differently, but at the same time, the core gameplay is still there where it's really good and it's really solid in pretty much all of its aspects of gameplay. I mean, this game is just, it's exactly what I think the Men of War Assault Squad 2 community wanted, and now we're seeing even more mod support for it as well. Granted, Men of War Assault Squad 2 mods do run a little bit better in terms of performance versus Gates of Hell mods. However, it is nice to see that Gates of Hell is getting a huge increase in their mods, and the mods that do exist are also getting big buffs. Meaning stuff like the Star Wars mod and stuff like that are getting worked on a little bit more than they were before, because previously it was pretty much all Men of War Assault Squad 2 for mods. And I honestly don't think that this is the end for Call to Arms Gates of Hell. I really hope they continue to support this game for years to come. I think this could end up becoming sort of the next Total War game, where it can stay alive with an active community for a really long time. Or, you know, the better example is probably Men of War. Just be the next Men of War Assault Squad 2. Have really, I think they need to solidify multiplayer. Go hard on multiplayer, really get multiplayer to a good point. And I think the way to do that is get more factions in there. And so, you know, if in the next DLC that they release, they go to North Africa, that could be really sick. Then you could have the Africa Corps in there, you could have the British in there, or even a US version in the desert, as opposed to the, you know, Western Front version that we currently have. That would be insane. Or go into early World War II with the French. That would be neat. That would be really pretty sick, experiencing the Blitzkrieg campaign, stuff like that. And then maybe even a little French resistance stuff later on. That would be cool too. And then of course you have the Pacific Front. There's so many possibilities for them in this. There's so many different factions that they can do, so many more theaters of war that we can visit. I think that this is only the start for Gates of Hell. I think we could see this game picking up even more traction, and I'm hoping to see that this 24-hour peak that we've had doesn't fall off completely. I think numbers will go down as this DLC did just get released, but I'd like to see it solidifying at a higher point than it was previously, and I think that will happen. I'm considering maybe running some tournaments with my YouTube channel. Could be kind of fun and could help continue the game's prosperity and stuff like that. But let me know what you guys think. Either way, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and go check out Call to Arms Gates of Hell Ostfront. Peace! I hope you guys enjoyed that video. Be sure to click that subscribe button for more content, and hit the notification bell if you'd like to be alerted to whenever I live stream or upload. Thanks so much.